It could be said that the need to ride a motorcycle isn't the same as the want to ride a motorcycle, and vice versa. The want to ride is different to the need.
Needs must may be down entirely to having to get to or from work, to studies, to relatives, the need to get outside to do something rather than be stuck indoors all day. At the same time, the want to ride, that feeling that you want to get out, you want to do something, you're going to put effort into something to make it happen. Each has their own reason for riding motorcycles. His, hers, yours and mine. It's all part of the big story, it's all part of who makes us, uniquely us. Now the vulnerability isn't just a physical one, it's also a mental one. Now if we're unfit to ride mentally, then that can have all kinds of repercussions on what we do physically, as opposed to not being able to ride physically and wanting to ride mentally. I speak of this not necessarily as a person with experience on the subject of mental health, but I think in due time we all have played our part in the dance with depression and negative thoughts and what that means for us to be a human being. And for a lot of us, getting on two wheels can help. However, there's that life balance. If you're not ready to be on two wheels in here, then that can have all kinds of negative effects on how you ride and why you ride. It's very much addictive, it's very much like a drug. Giving every conceivable reason as to why we ride, how we ride, there's always the large question of what we ride. You can be a cruiser person, you can be a sports person, you can be an adventure person, and so on and so forth. Ultimately, what you ride doesn't matter, nor should it. Everyone has their own reasons to do what they do. Perhaps because they must, perhaps because they want to. It's all fine. Regardless of who you see and what they're riding, give them a nod, give them a wave. A smile at the very least helps. Because you'd be surprised if someone sees you performing just what is common courtesy or even an act of kindness. They might have had a bad day at work, they might have got into an argument with someone, any reason. You can not only brighten their day, but you can make that ride just a little bit more special. You could be one of those many people that waves back at them and just you put a smile on their face, which is great. In these trying times, whether it be politics or money worries or just the general state of the world, we can all spread some smiles, and I think we all need some smiles sometimes. And if we're playing the blame game, or if we're overreacting to silly little mistakes which other people can do, granted, you're on a motorcycle, you're more vulnerable as we mentioned earlier, but if you're able to avoid it, then surely we can just go our separate ways. So there comes a time where we all need to hang up our boots, so to say. And I hope, not only for myself, but for everyone else out there as well, that that's not for a very, very long time. Now, if I didn't have the ability to ride, I kind of have no reason to edit videos. And just thinking about that just really, really makes me uncomfortable. Because this is something I like doing, this is something I love doing. and I want to continue doing this because I know from the things that I've seen, from the places I've been, and the comments which people leave on these videos, people genuinely enjoy what happens here between myself and the viewer through these cameras.
Now, being on two wheels is of course very thrilling. I asked the question to my Facebook group, have any of you ever had to stop yourselves from riding due to negative thoughts or depression? 2 people got back to me, and Russell here says, my first bike has helped with my depression. I ride almost every day and it makes me happy, satisfied, and of course thrilled. A bike is not for everyone, but it's worked for me. Michael has said no. I find that when I ride with the help of some good old rock and roll, it calms me down. I'm starting to find that 70s rock is really good to listen to. I lost my daughter 3 years ago, and I ride every anniversary so I can clear my mind. I find it very therapeutic.
It should go about saying that riding while not mentally fit, or in some cases mentally stable, can affect the way that you ride. Your reactions may be sluggish. You may ride more aggressively. In other cases, you'd be riding without a clue of where you are, and so on and so forth. So it's always good to keep a clear head. And there is always that balance. When you're feeling down, how do you know when to ride? Or when you're riding, how can you tell when you're feeling down? There is always a line, and where that line is depends on the person. If you are depressed, then that can affect the way you approach certain obstacles and certain things that you find on the road. Something like, maybe I don't really care if I make this corner. So if you're feeling like that, then that's probably a good time to sort of step aside from the motorcycle for 5 minutes, maybe grab a cup of tea or something, chill out for a minute, just relax. At the same time, if you're depressed, sometimes that can make you more aggressive, and I mean that in the sort of impatience and just the want to get somewhere sooner or quicker, faster, harder. And there's always a risk with that. Blind bends, for example, you might not even know a corner's coming until you hit it at 60 miles an hour, and then suddenly, where can you go aside from in the hedge? What we all need to be aware of is things can happen in an instant, out of the blue, absolutely anything. And we need to be as on top of our game as possible in order to deal with these situations, these obstacles, as they turn up. Say for example, if something was to fall into the middle of the road and you weren't necessarily thinking straight, you might just blast your way past it and think nothing of it. But if there's another motorcyclist behind you that you don't know about, maybe their view of this object in the road is going to be obstructed by a large vehicle in front of them. They're not going to see that until the worst happens. Now, you might be the type of person who absolutely loves getting the spanners out and getting dirty with the old chain. On the other hand, if you're not exactly happy with the way things are at the moment, then that can be a loathsome job. And is that something you really want to be doing while you're upset or while you're angry? It's an odd one, isn't it? Maintenance should, of course, take priority over riding. If there is something wrong with your motorcycle and you know about it, then get it fixed. I know it sounds really obvious, but when you're upset, it really surprises you how quick these little common sense things can go out the window. I know it sounds annoying, and to be honest, I hate myself for having to say it, but if one person can walk away from this video and later on if they end up looking at their motorcycle and thinking, actually, you know what, that chain is a little bit loose, or maybe I should grease that up a bit, or maybe there's something here which needs to be adjusted, mirrors, could be anything. But if one person can go back and remember that video of that annoying British bloke on that orange motorcycle saying, hey, that little bit of maintenance you've been putting off for a while, maybe you should get on with that, it can help someone. And you know what, that makes me bloody glad. For the rest of you, I'm sorry, I'm really, really sorry. And while I'm not trying to continue the trend of telling you what you should and shouldn't do, because that is entirely up to you, my friend, at the same time, if you live in especially warmer climates, remember to stay hydrated. And again, that sounds basic, but you'd be surprised. After my trip of the southern states in the US, I realised how quick one can get dehydrated, and I'll tell you what, it does make a hell of a lot of difference if you're not aware of what's going on around you. So for example, your thoughts start to lag behind what's actually going on, and when that starts to happen, yes, you might be on a straight road, but if something jumps out in front of you or something happens on the road, it could be literally anything, suddenly you're not in a very good position to be able to react to it. And unfortunately, in some cases, that little reaction time is all it takes for someone to get hurt. And unless you are some kind of evil, or there is a thought in your head that shouldn't be there, nobody wants to see someone get hurt.
I've passed this scene many times on the way to and from making videos and never really put much thought into it. A few years ago, I did a short group ride with a handful of individuals I didn't know. One of these lads was called Ryan, and you can probably put two and two together. After seeing some graffiti around the local area, I had a feeling, which was confirmed by a friend of mine, that this scene was connected. Around 10:15 in the morning, Ryan was riding his motorcycle on this road when a van pulled out in front of him. Ryan sadly made contact with the van and lost his life. At the time of the collision, Ryan was due to start work the next day as a lifeguard after showing great character. He was 18 years old. We're left with the aftermath of a young man who has sadly passed away. Family and friends have paid tributes, but understandably the hurt, as does the loss, still remains. As motorcycle riders, we all have the responsibility to look after ourselves, each other, and to be more proactive than other drivers who we all must share the roads with. For us, as bikers, to see one of us go down can feel more personal. During my short time here at the scene, I was overcome with so many emotions which are hard to put into words, but the pain is very much real. Be it an overtaking maneuver, something running out in front of you, someone losing control of their vehicle, if you could go back and relive those last moments, what would you change? What could be done differently? How would this affect the way that you ride, and what would you change going forward? Mental health is not so often talked about, but today more people are sitting down and sharing experiences, talking about their stories and how riding helps them cope with the day-to-day of this modern world. Whether you're taking your mind off the news, the next political outrage, work, drama, with family or friends, finding a riding buddy to share a trip with and chat can be an extremely fulfilling, humbling journey. And these would-be friends can pop up in all walks of life, be it race, gender, upbringing, the bike they ride. It can often surprise you where diamonds can be found in the rough. We are part of this more vulnerable side of road traffic. Yes, this can be a hobby, a thrill, but the risk is very much real. Is that next overtake worth it? Is there a sufficient gap between you and the oncoming traffic to make it? Why is the speed limit on this road only 30? Just how sharp is that next corner? Every time we throw on that jacket, slip on the helmet and sit on our bikes, if we could know before heading out that this would be our last ride, would you still take it? To summarise, ride safe, keep the rubber on the road, stay cool but stay aware, and every other phrase you can think of. But most importantly, have fun. Enjoy it. If it's not fun, it can get dangerous. Come back to it again tomorrow, next week, or when the sun comes out again. We will come away to live, to ride another day.